Hello and welcome to the MHG podcast. As usual, life can be a little bit miserable, life can be a little bit dark. So, we're technically here, and I say we, become clear in a minute, to bring you a little bit of light and a little bit of joy. I'm Bradley, sort of joined by Stu, but he'll be joining later because work commitments, family commitments mean that we can't get on schedule this week. So we're recording separately. Stu will talk about a couple of games in a bit. I'll talk about a couple now. Stu will do his magic and bring it all together so it makes some kind of coherent sense. Just a bit of housekeeping. I'm not going to do too much, but if you're listening to this, we've just started a new weekly indie roundup on the site, which you can check out. Please do. And in the new year, we're going to try and play more video content, some exclusive stuff, hopefully. Try and get Patreon going. It's becoming really expensive to keep the lights on with hosting costs and so on and so forth. So, yeah, we'll try and make it worth your while. If you do listen and you can spare £1 a month, then we will make sure you get some exclusive content. Could be unedited podcast stuff. I mean, probably this stuff you're listening to, because she'll probably cut it out because I ramble. And obviously, for the time being, we're still on Twitter. I don't know how long that will last. I don't, because that's a dumpster fire at the moment. So we'll see. We'll see what happens there. But that's it. Talk about some games, shall we? So I can't segue. So where are you with segue with yourself? So no segue. I'm going to jump into, I've got three I'm going to talk about. One's really quick. It's called, what it's from? Invincible Presents Atom Eve. Invincible is a multimedia series, I think, that's on TV. I think I've seen it on like Prime Video or something. I don't know. But this is called Atom Eve, and it's like a visual novel, action adventure type thing, which I've started playing, and I don't know what I think of it at the moment. It's intriguing, shall we say. It's intriguing. I think what I need to do is I need to watch the TV series that's on Prime. If it is, I think it is that. I recognise the characters. But I've started playing it, and the story's pretty decent, actually. It's a pretty decent story going on in there. It's kind of got this choices matter type thing there that I'm hoping sort of expands itself later as you play. There's some fairly light turn-based combat in there as well, but it's mostly a visual novel, and I think it's aimed squarely at people who enjoy the TV series, I suppose. Well, I suppose it's more the comic book. It's actually originally, that much I do know, it was originally a comic book. I thought it went straight from comic book to this. But anyway, but yeah, it's come across, it's superheroes in their universe, in their world, and you kind of follow whatever the story is that the game wants you to follow. And I think visual novels, and this is a case in point with this as well, visual novels are starting to do a lot of interesting things. They're trying to really integrate themselves with other mediums, and with the visual novel aspect still being the main pull for fans of those. But rather than it just being yet another, you just sit here and you read through and make choices, the added combat, turn-based stuff here just breaks things up nicely. It's kept me intrigued. The story's well written. The visuals are pretty nice. I'm not sure if they are a bit fan servicey in places, but I don't know if that's how it is in the world of Invincible anyway. But yeah, it's not questionable or anything like that. There's nothing sort of like I go, oh, I don't know if I should watch that, but it's just couple of the graphic choices or visual choices in there are a bit, hang on, is this trying to appeal to fan servicey type people? I'm not sure. But overall, it's really well made. It's a solid game. And I think I've barely scratched the surface so far. Playing it on the Steam Deck, and it's one I'll pick up and I'll play for like half an hour, just to relax before bed. And yeah, it's a nice, enjoyable book, shall we say? With bits to do in it. I just really, yeah, really enjoyed it. Uh, and it's a tenner, as well. So you're paying that if you're on Amazon for a Kindle book or something. Well worth it. Well worth it if you're into that sort of thing. Anyway, moving on from visual novels, let's go on to a genre I really like. One of my favourite genres actually over the past few years, and that's the roguelike deck builder. And for this one, I've been playing Cobalt Core, which came out at the beginning of November, and I kind of didn't get round to it to start with, but I have now. I have now got round to it, and I'm actually really annoyed with myself that I didn't get to it much earlier. It's a deck builder in all the traditional sense, like you slay the spires and so on, where you go through a map, a randomised map, and you choose your path. Like you would in Slay the Spire, you take on enemies or you do events, etc., etc. You can upgrade, heal, all those different kinds of things that you would expect. Um, but what I really like is the one-on-one battles are basically space battles. You have your cannons, the enemy ships have their cannons, and you use cards to decide, are you going to fire on them, are you going to evade, you're going to block, plus a mixture of other things. You've got to create great synergies. But the pull on this is you have three characters, and each of those characters has a certain type of card, so they have their strengths, their weaknesses, and you have to try and bring those together so that they work well together to take on the enemies. The more you play, the more you learn. The more you learn, the better you do. The better you do, the further you get. The more you die, the more you learn. And rinse and repeat. And you unlock more cards, more characters, more ways of playing. And it's a really, really fun, breezy deck builder, with a sci-fi spin, and it's yeah, really, really, really enjoying this one. Um, it's, as far as I'm aware, it's single player only, which seems to be definitely a thing with this. Because it is a Slay the Spire type one. I think I spoke about a game called Cross Blitz, in our weekly roundup for week 48, which I thought could have some multiplayer at some point. This purely single player. It's got a really cool concept as well, so you can avoid completely to try and avoid shots. But you can also get cards and things that rearrange your ship, and the layout of your ship, or you can make certain parts of your ship invisible or unhittable, things like that, and it really brings out the tactical thinking of it. And the strategy element, I found myself, I've put like deep into this, a good number of hours I've played now, and I am just really, really enjoying my time. The cards are really simple to understand, really nicely made logos, rather than going for the card art that a lot of these games sort of do, which are lovely. I love those. It's purely simple. You get, in the middle of your card, you get a sword for a shot, for an attack action, a shield for a block action, arrows for evasive actions and stuff like that. It's all very clear. It's all very colour coded. Nice chunky sprites. So you're not trying to search. It's an immediate understanding with the game. And I think for someone who wants to come into deck builders and is maybe unsure or they felt a bit lost in the past, I think this is a great intro to the genre. Um, and so far I feel like I barely scratched the surface. There's plenty of mixing and matching I could do with the characters and the cards, and everything, different paths I could take. I went through one where I barely had a fight, unless I was forced into it because I got really lucky on the map draw, and that was really good. The in between discussions with characters is really good. It kind of reminds me a little bit of Star Fox with the interactions in a way. If you play it, it'll make sense. But yeah, and the unlocks are pretty good as well. They don't just throw things at you at a super speed, but it's not overly held back as well. I've not unlocked everything yet, but I've had a good chance to allow my new unlocks to breathe. And I feel a lot of games struggle to get that right. Cobalt Core here does that. It allows you to play with your unlocks a little bit. Yeah, I am really, really happy with this one. Check it out. And again, perfect on the Steam Deck. Guys, while I'm playing it. No small text issues, no unreadable UI, nothing like that. Absolutely brilliantly perfect for the Steam Deck. And finally, an interesting game that I've been playing is a real-time strategy tactics based adventure, which is sort of historical in ways, but obviously it's an alternate history type thing called Last Train Home. It's set after the Great War, and you basically take control of a group, shall we? I think it's just a group who are having to live on a train amidst a civil war that's going on. You have to go through a bleak wilderness, a really, really bleak wilderness on this train, making stops where you then have to go on foot and explore, complete quests and missions, get into real-time strategy battles. And right, Czechoslovakia, not Czech Republic, because obviously it's Great War time, so obviously Czech Republic now. But yeah, it's based in the old Czechoslovakia. And yeah, you've got a mine, well not mine, you've got a hunt for resources, kill troops in conflict if they're getting your way, or they try and attack, try and keep everyone alive. Loads of stuff going on. It's a bleak looking game. It's brown in a lot of places, but not like it's like, oh, everything's brown. It's to give a bleakness to it, and it works. But then you get into some sort of like wintry style levels where there's snow and ice, and it does look lovely, especially for like a top down or isometric, whatever you want to call it game. You have to make some really big decisions, so it's kind of got that Frostpunk thing where decisions you make aren't just black and white. It's going to have that moment of, I'm going to choose this, and I know this is going to negatively affect these people, but I need to do this to protect these people. And can I do this? And you've really got to balance out what you're doing. You've got to have a think about morals within the game. It's all there, and each adventure, each quest you go on feels impactful. I've played a lot of these games where you're going on your quest and they just feel like filler. So far, this doesn't feel like it's got any real filler to it. The people management in there, so you've got to manage the crew on the train, you've got to manage who you're sending out on quests, who you decide to bring in, how you do your upgrades. It's done really, really well, and it's not overly convoluted. So like when I've played games that do this, oh, here's your main bulk of the questy action, here's the bits in between, like an XCOM, I found myself overwhelmed, like I'm really stuck, I'm lost, I don't know what to do, because this is just too much for me. This has got a nice balance. The RTS stuff is stressful in the right ways because it's challenging, but it's not impossible to get hold of. Doesn't feel difficult to sort of like get to grips with the game and do what you want to do in it. And then the management side of it, that's not overbearing either. You know, you have to think about what you're doing, but it's all simply laid out. It's got a good user interface. And yeah, I don't want to say enjoying it because it's a stressful game to play, but for want of a better word, I am enjoying this one. I recently played Jagged Alliance, which I thought was really, really good. But I think I'm having more fun with this. They're not exactly the same sort of game, but they are, you know, they're adjacent. shall we say. They're adjacent with each other. But I think I'm preferring this one to a game like Jagged Alliance so far. And yeah, and some people might not be too pleased. It's a £35 game, which some people might not be too keen on, I suppose. But for me, yeah, I'm really enjoying it. It plays well on the Steam Deck. The user interface isn't too bad. It could do. We're at a stage now, I think, with the success of the Steam Deck, where games like this need to get experts in. They need to get someone in whose job is specifically working out the UI on smaller screens. And the Steam Deck's there. We've got a lot of people now maybe streaming to iPads or phones, or or even smaller monitors away from their main computer or the big TV or whatever. So we really do need to start thinking of ways we can improve UI. This isn't the most egregious example, but it's one where I've got to be in the mood to play the game because I've got to fight the UI just enough that it's not just put it on and enjoy it. I had to map a magnification button for myself at the sacrifice of another button. And yeah, it's not ideal, but it does the job. But yeah, we need to see improvements because it's taking this from what is, I would suggest, a must play to if you've got the right screen for it, or you're willing to fight through. And for me, the game is good enough. I'm willing to have that little bit of a fight just to play it, which says a lot. But anyway, that's it from me. That was Last Train Home, which is, it's really, really good. All three of the games I've just spoke about are out. So I'm going to step back. I'm going to shut up. And I'm going to pass you over to Stu, who will take the rest of the podcast and knock it out the park and take it home. Over to you, Stu.
Thank you, Mr. Brad. Yeah, when we do it like that, it almost seems like we know what we're doing, which is, that's a terrible way of, convincing the public we are something that we're not. Yeah, because we haven't got a clue. But I'm glad that I was able to get on to record. Been a really busy week, started a new job. You don't care about that. It's not interesting. And my work isn't interesting, so why would you want to know? It'd be great if I was like an astronaut or something, I don't know. But no, I'm an IT middle manager. Really not very exciting. I have been playing some interesting games though. One of which is kind of a punishment from Brad. And one of which was a joy. So let's have a look at them. But before we do, I must say this, right? How come we, and I had to put up with it as well, put up with Brad rabbiting on about a game that he couldn't talk about, and then he doesn't mention it when he can talk about it? And that game is SteamWorld Build, right? And he loves this game. He was absolutely rabid about it. So please go and check out his review on the website. It's a very good review, as always, from him. And have a look, and if you like it, buy the game, because by all accounts it's a cracker. But I haven't started playing anything that good. Oh God, no. I played via a code given to me by Brad a game that, as I say, it's more punishment than it is pride. It's more violence than it is, I can't think of something that rhymes with V that's positive, victory. But yeah, it's a game called Dreamworks All-Star Kart Racing. Now, you hear that title, and it's kind of an immediate red flag, isn't it? Let's face it. It's like, under what circumstances would I ever buy this game? And I can tell you what circumstances you'd buy the game under. You would buy the game if you were a parent of a young child, and that young child wouldn't shut up until you bought the game for them. Yeah? That is the only scenario in which you are buying this game. Okay? I'm kidding, of course. You can buy any game you want. Should you buy this game? Well, okay. Now, with all that build-up, you think I'm going to absolutely nuke this little bastard from orbit. But I'm actually not. Because, right, unlike a couple of the games we were talking about last week, this isn't a terribly made game. It's a well-made game. So, It's got all the kart racer trappings that you'd expect, so it's bright, colourful. The tracks are decently designed. It's got all the characters that you recognise. Well, I don't so much because I don't have kids, and I've never really been into Dreamworks that much. So I recognised a few, obviously. I recognised the Madagascar ones. I recognised some of the Shrek ones, especially Shrek himself and Puss in Boots. And a couple, I think, from that Dragon one. Yeah, after that I was tapping out a little bit, but mostly recognisable, and people who are into those films are going to be overjoyed. And they all have little vocal clips, you know, that they say stuff that is in character for what they would say in the movie. Like Donkey comes out with like stupid stuff that's supposedly funny. Basically, if you're above 5 years old, you're not going to find it extremely witty. You know, it's not. It's not been written by Oscar Wilde, you know, pal. Anyway, I only mention that because it's actually quite a big component of the game. It's not just like Wario, you know, going ah, ha, ha, or you know, like the odd Mario going "it's a me" clip. It's like constant. So if you're a parent on Christmas Day watching your kid play this, please make sure that you've got earplugs because you're going to get really fed up of it very, very fast. But this seems to be undercutting my it's actually a decent game thing. It is actually a decent game. It's totally boring if you've ever played any of these games before because it doesn't add anything particularly new. Now, I've not found much fun in the kart races for a long time, so I've not played that many. So tell me if this feature, you know, say in the comments or respond on the website, any of the socials, if this feature is in other games. But it's got this thing where you collect a token while you're going along and it starts a shortcut, which is in the air. So it kind of like jumps barriers. And so you collect this shortcut and you jump up onto a elevated, you know, road surface. And if you're going along, it's more difficult to control on that, obviously, because it's a shortcut and it's got to be a test. And another icon will appear, and if you grab that, it will continue it, and it can do this like 3 times. And it's a really, really neat way of going. We won't just have the shortcuts dotted around the environment, and when you know them, you're always going to hit them. It's a good way of going, aha, not only do you have to be skilled enough to get the token whilst you're in the middle of, you know, fighting, taking a corner, all the usual kart stuff. Whilst you're on that thing, you have to get another token to extend that. So that's pretty clever. So if they've stolen that from somebody, that's really disappointing. I'm hoping it's a new feature. If it is a new feature, it's the best feature. All the racing is good in terms of it's got solid fundamentals. Physics are absolutely great. The jump system, when you hit jump barriers, absolutely fine. The AI is okay. Not had any, you know, egregious problems with it. It does have, you know, rubber banding, and it does have weapons that penalise you for being at the front, because obviously they've just lifted and shifted that straight from Mario Kart. A feature of Mario Kart that I absolutely despise, by the way, and one of the reasons I don't play them anymore. It's got loads of stuff in there from Sonic All-Stars Racing. Can't remember the Sonic and Friends All-Stars Racing. That one from years ago that is really good. The one done by Sumo. So, yeah, basically, I don't think it introduces much that would take you away from those games. If you want more, it's probably okay to buy, but really it's directly aimed at little kids. And if you are genuinely, I'm not taking the piss for once, if you are genuinely looking for that kind of game, you know that your kids like racing games like that, and also particularly they want to play in a bunch, it might be one to pick up for them, because it's not an awful game by any stretch of the imagination. It's not for me. It's something that's been done a billion times before, but it's not egregious, it's not nasty, and it's not crap. So if your kids want it, buy it for them. Luckily, the only other game I've been playing, and it actually isn't really this week, it's a week ago as I'm recording this, because I haven't played anything all week because I've been starting a new job, and it was, you know, it's pretty brutal doing that. But yeah, it's a game called Timberman, The Big Adventure. And yeah, you can't really work out from that what kind of game it is, but it's a platform game. It's kind of an action platformer in a way. So you pick one of 2 characters, a lumberjack or a bear with a little trucker's cap on, and a very cartoony platform game, very kind of 16-bit styled, and you obviously get from one end to the other of the level. It's got a few wrinkles that make it stand out a bit. For a start, it's very, very pretty to look at. It's nicely designed. I like the character designs. They're really good, very cute, very pixel styled, but also fairly modern. It has its own, when you're doing something of that scale with small sprites and cutesy characters, it's hard to stand out too much and make them too different. But it's got a couple of nice little animation wrinkles that add a little bit of punch and a little bit of difference, which is great. So it's definitely got that built in. Nice to look at, nice to engage with. The platforms themselves, the platforming, very good. So its absolute core best thing is that all of the platforming is fun and the physics are really good, really nice. You're going to be engaging with that constantly. It's got to be good. You've got to enjoy it. And one of the things I was thinking of when I was thinking of what does it most kind of take inspiration from, and it kind of if you imagine a slightly easier Psycho Fox, if you've ever played that on the SMS, the Master System. If you haven't, give it a go just to see what you think of it on emulator. It's kind of like that, but with better physics, because there's a lot of punching. So this is my one negative of the game, right? So the thesis is, it seems to be, that you are fighting a corporation that is trying to strip mine your environment. Bit heavy for a little platformer, but obviously it's not like that. You're a traditional lumberjack. You do some lumberjacky stuff like cutting down trees to create bridges, and also you can hit enemies and stuff, and these are a highly automated thuggish corporation coming in to just automate and strip the place. There's robots, there's their employees to fight, all that kind of stuff. That's fine, but there don't seem to, unless I've got it wrong so far, no power-ups. So it's using a combination of your abilities that you have, and obviously you've got your jumps, you've got punches. Your punch also works as a dash in midair, which is good, and you've got double jump from the off, which I always like. I think any platform game that gives you a jump should give you a double jump. There's just something inherently beautifully satisfying about it. There's secrets, there's awkward spots that you have to use good timing on, but it's much more of a kind of exploratory, kind of explore the environment, interact with the environment action platformer than it is a traditional Mario or Sonic, where it's kind of an assault course of get from one end to the other as fast and as smoothly as you can, which you'll get rewarded for. This is more of a take your time, no timer, no clock, like Mario Wonder. Explore the environment, hit things, explore things, discover things, pick stuff up, and so how you engage with that is going to be different for you. But I liked it, but it's not, it's leaning more towards an action platformer than it is a traditional Mario game. So I'm not massively far into it, but I've played it for a good couple of hours, and for me, it's a recommend. It's a total recommend. If you like the visual style and you want another platform game and you want to get it on the indie side of things, I'd say, definitely check it out. I don't think there's a demo. I've been playing it on Steam. It's comparatively cheap, and for me, it's a double thumbs up. It's doing everything right so far, and I can't really see it dipping from this point. So absolutely perfect on Steam Deck as well, touching on what Brad was talking about playing on smaller screens. Everything is scaled well, and it'll run at 60 frames per second, even if you dump the power consumption right down to 3 watts, which means you can play it for, I don't know, on your Steam Deck, probably about 3, 4, 5 hours without running out of battery. So a great one for travel as well, and you can see everything perfectly on the screen, which you think considerations you have to take into account when you're playing these things. Anyway, so there you go. So good game. Pick it up if you like the sound of it. So of course a little bit short this week. Apologies for that. It's really hard to record at the moment. We'll pick it up and get better at it in the next couple of weeks. It's our 200th episode next week as we record, and that will do something special for that. It'll be nice, it'll be fun. So look forward to that, and then we've got Christmas around the corner, so lots of good stuff coming up. But not a perfect time for everybody. Can be tough on the mental health. If you need any help, do consider reaching out on our Discord, because we will talk about all sorts of things, but we will also talk about mental health and try and support as best we can. There are agencies out there that can help as well. Samaritans, which I talked about in the past, who I used to volunteer for, help, and there are other resources online. But also, yeah, just in general, engage with our content on social media, go to the website, look at SteamWorld Build that Brad weirdly omitted from the whole conversation after all that build-up. And in the meantime, until the 200th episode next week, stay safe and stay sane.